Okay, so in this video, we'll go over some exercises with tracing the code and see if you can sort of tell which parts repeat and which parts don't. So I have this code here, so maybe take a minute to sort of look at this and think about what this code might do. So pause the video and maybe think about that for a little bit. Okay, so right? The thing we want here is sort of like, okay, well, I have something before the for loop that's sort of setup, and then I have something that is repeating, and then I have something that's after. Okay, so there's a lot of common patterns that are like this. So we do some sort of setup above, and then we repeat, and then we do things down below. So how many times does this line get executed? Just once, right? Once before the for loop, and then how about this? How many times does this repeat? Do these lines of code repeat? So you might be thinking like, oh, like we're adding I to I every time, and it's like 0 and 1, and then like 3 or 2 or 4 or something like that, right? But the truth is, if you look at this, and you know, we're starting I with 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. So that means we're not getting anywhere with the first loop. So maybe, what about the next loop, right? It's going to stay 0. And so 0 plus 0 is always going to be 0, which means this is actually going to be an infinite loop. And it'll keep doing this, and you'll see, if you run this, you'll see that your um, turtle just sort of glitches out and it's not responding well. Um, Things like that. So here's what we can do, right? We can maybe, let's try this. Let's make I1. This way we actually add something to it. So now we have I is basically I plus I, which is 2. So I plus I is going to be 2, and then 2 is going to be assigned to I. And then, right, 2 plus 2 is 4, and then 4 plus 4 is 8. So how many times does this execute now? So we have when it's 1, it runs once. When it's 2, it runs once. So that's 2 times. When it's 4, it runs the third time, and then 8, 4 times. So we should see this turtle run 4 times. Okay, so let's try that. So let's go ahead and compile, run this now, and fingers crossed that it does not. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of what it draws, and we can sort of take a look at our code to see what's happening, right? So we can do this, right? So we can sort of write out what I will be in each iteration. And so I is going to be 1 in the first iteration, 2 in the second iteration, 4, and then 8, right? Now, when it gets to, 16, 16 is not less than 10, so none of these lines get executed. So remember, every time the for loop ends, it'll come back up here and test if the condition is true. If it's not, then it'll exit out of the loop and then continue executing whatever is after. Okay, so we basically I will be 1, 2, 4, and 8. And so now the first time this runs, it'll move forward by 50 times I, which is just 50. And then we have, it'll turn 90 plus 1 times 10, which is just 100. So it'll turn 100 degrees. And we can look over here. Right? I'll put this over there. Right, so it'll move that amount, turn about 100 degrees. You can see that it's not directly 90, right? And then it'll increase this steps counter by 1. So this is sort of just counting how many steps do we take, okay? And now, when we go to the next iteration, I plus equals I, well, I is going to be assigned 2 because it's assigned to 1 plus itself, which is 2. So now it goes forward by 50 times 2, which is 100, which is double the amount, right? Double the amount that it went for the first time. And then it's going to turn a little more, and this time 90 plus 2 times 10, which is 20, right? So 90 plus 20 is 110. So we're turning 110 more degrees, 110 more degrees. And then we increase the counter by 1. So at this point, the steps is 2, right? So now we have 4. I is 4. Let me actually put that. So I is going to be 4 on the third iteration. And so 50 times 4 is 200. So it'll move double that amount, right? And then it's going to say, okay, 90 plus 40, basically, right, is 130. So it'll turn 130. Increase steps. So now it's 3. Right now, I is going to be 8. So 50 times 8 is going to be 400. So it moves over there for 400. And then it turns 90 plus 80, which is 170. And then increase steps by 1. And now, I is going to be 16 here, so it's going to exit out of the loop. And it's going to say number of steps is 4. So you can see that we're doing multiple things at once. We're making it go forward, we're making it turn, and then also we're increasing this counter here, which has not much to do with I, because I is going from 1, 2, 4, 8, whereas steps is going 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can do many things inside a for loop, and they don't always have to relate to each other, which is really powerful. And next we're going to do some while tracing in the next video.